This is Cessna 37 executing an emergency ditching at 27 degrees latitude, 74 degrees longitude. I've got 6 souls on board. Mayday. 1-4 Alpha. Engine cut. Ditching in water. 10 miles south of Longboat Key. Do you read? Oh. You're on board. We're going.
Every day in the United States, an airplane goes into the water. Once an aircraft is down, water survival begins. And who better to know that than the U.S. Coast Guard?
On average, the United States Coast Guard rescues 14 people a day, every day. We respond to up to 65,000 distress incidents a year. Approximately 2,000 of those are aviation or aircraft incidents.
Unless an individual is properly equipped and prepared, chances of survival are slim. You're probably thinking, but I'm pretty conscientious with my flying, and it's not likely to happen to me. If you ever fly over water, then you and your passengers are at risk. 85% of the people who fly internationally do not have current overwater training. This includes general aviation pilots. Every survival situation is unique, and you must be able to plan for the what-if situation. If you have to ditch an aircraft, there's hardly any planning when things are happening quickly around you. Unless equipment is close at hand, your chances of using it are unlikely. Before we begin to talk about actual survival principles, let's note that there are successful ways to ditch an aircraft. Be cognizant of the sea conditions and wind, the type of aircraft you're flying, and know your ability. Remember that wind speed is relative to wave height. Above all, avoid the face of a swell. Ditching any kind of aircraft is difficult at best, but be aware that with high wing or low wing aircraft with non-retractable gear have a tendency to flip in the water. The more you can belly skid into the water with gear up or stall and pancake it in increases your chances of a survivable ditch. Touchdown should be at the lowest speed and rate of descent, which permits safe handling and optimum nose-up attitude on impact. If you can, land parallel to and on the backside of the swell. Once impact is made, there is little a pilot can do to control a land plane. For further information about landing on swells and anticipating sea conditions, you can reference FAA document Aeronautical Information Manual, AIM, concerning distress and urgency procedures. Be sure to file a flight plan. If a pilot communicates distress early on, they can expect to have assistance during their emergency, rather than if they postpone or delay their decision-making process. If a pilot gets into denial thinking, "Hey, this isn't happening to me" approach, chances are there will not be as many survivors. Usually in a crisis situation, 70% of the people will deny what's happening to them. With help, they can be highly functional. 15% of the people become so distracted that they become highly dysfunctional. If critical decisions are delayed, then loss of life can result. Once a problem arises, pilots should report the identification of the aircraft, their present position, the nature of the emergency, and the pilot's intentions. The more information transmitted regarding your whereabouts prior to ditching expedites recovery preparations. Circumstances will dictate your emergency response, if you're flying alone versus if you have a crew and passengers. First, let's address flying alone. When alone, you have no one to rely on but yourself. So it's important that your emergency equipment is within close reach, perhaps secured next to you in an adjacent seat or where it is easily attainable, not in the luggage compartment. More importantly, be familiar with and know how to use the equipment. Emergency equipment must be certified and maintained at least once a year by an FAA authorized station. If you know an impact is certain, prop open the door or a window so that once in the water, the pressure won't prevent you from exiting. Every aircraft should be equipped with what's called a ditch kit. This is a kit in addition to your first aid kit that would fit in a life raft. Some manufacturers sell them pre-packaged. However, the recommendation is to personalize your kit to self and crew, keeping in mind special medical concerns, allergies, diabetes, extra pair of reading glasses, etc. If you are taking prescription medication and flying over water, be sure that you carry at least a 30-day supply with you. The purpose of the ditch kit is to sustain the number of people from your aircraft until rescue arrives. The following is considered a minimum of articles needed: water maker, signal flares, seasick pills, signal mirror, 1 liter of packaged water, bailing bucket, first aid kit with sunscreen, life raft patch kit, rope, duct tape, pocket knife, ELT, emergency locator transmitter, plastic bags, and a large Mylar bag. We realize that there are numerous items that can occupy a ditch kit. This is a simple list to merely get you started. You may be in a situation where all you have available to survive is what is on your person. These items will be of no use to you unless you know how to use them. Water pump, also known as a reverse osmosis pump. With approximately 30 manual pumps every 10 minutes, you can get 8 ounces of water. This can be a means of having a constant supply of water. These sell for about $550. Try not to eat food if you don't have adequate water. Your priority should be water first, food second. When you have water, drink it. Don't sip it. It's the same theory as a thimbleful of gas in a gas tank. The car's engine still won't run. Sipping water doesn't make you last longer. Drink water when you have it, and to conserve bodily water loss. Signal flares. There are different types of signal flares available: handheld, signal gun, parachute flares. Know the types of flares available, as well as how and when to use them. In all cases, use them away from your face and away from the raft. Be aware of wind direction. When in doubt, read the directions printed on the flare. Remember that sea conditions or the environment are not always conducive to reading fine print. Do not shoot all your flares at one time. Be sure to save several to help guide or alert rescuers when in your area. Seasick pills. You're probably thinking, that's the least of my worries. Well, not really. Everyone should take precautions as soon as possible, ideally before entering the raft. Seasick pills take 25 to 45 minutes to react. This helps in conserving bodily fluids that you would lose if you got sick. Getting seasick can accelerate dehydration. Be aware there are certain brands available where 1 tablet can last you all day. Also, your doctor can prescribe some anti-seasick patches that are fixed to an area on the skin, ideal to keep in your ditch kit or to wear as a precaution when flying over water. A possible impact of seasick pills is your energy level could decrease. This could affect your will to survive. Once you are seasick, pills will have no effect and you won't be able to keep them down, whereas these prescribed patches work through the skin to help your system. Signal mirror. This is an effective signaling device. If a mirror isn't available, a hologram on a credit card can work equally well. Straighten one arm and make the number 2 with your index and middle finger. Then with the other hand, take the mirror or card and reflect the light using your arm as a balance, so that the reflection is seen on the back of your 2 fingers. Put the target that you want to signal in between your fingers and tilt the mirror or card back and forth. Surprisingly, this makes a strong reflection. Bailing bucket. You need to keep as dry as possible. A bucket will make it easier for you to get water out of your raft. Tying the rope to the bucket inside the raft can keep you from losing it overboard. Also note that when the bucket is tied to the raft, it can act like a sea anchor, providing more stability in the water. However, the goal is to maintain your body's core temperature, and the best way to do this is keep dry. Sunscreen is important to have in your kit, again helping you to maintain that core body temperature. Try to keep all your clothes on and protect open skin areas, including a cover for your head. If you get too sunburned, your body's temperature will fluctuate, trying to compensate for the heat gain. Ideally, the sunscreen you wear should be waterproof and be at least 30 SPF. Rope can have several useful functions. With rope, you can tie or secure each item independently to the raft. In a survival situation, all items become resources. So anything that is salvaged should be stored in compartments or pockets on the raft, if not already tied down. Not only does this include all equipment, but also all people should be fastened into the raft as well. If there's more than one life raft, rafts should also be tied together, about 15 feet apart. The reason for this is that swells can cause rafts to jackknife into another raft. If survivors are without rafts, they should still be tied together, as this creates a protective emotional barrier, besides providing warmth. Some people opt to have these compact orange Mylar bags in their ditch kits. The bright International orange bags open up to 84 by 36 inches, with an interior Mylar reflection. They serve as excellent signaling devices. Once a person gets inside, the Mylar reflects heat back to the person. And if water gets in the bag, it's okay, as the water warms, becoming an insulator while also serving as ballast. These bags can be used in water, snow, and inverted and used as protection from desert heat. The bags provide security to a person inside the bag, plus the drawstring is convenient for tying the bags together. Plastic bags. Much like string, these bags have multiple uses. By now you realize that just about every item has use in a survival situation. However, personal waste is the only item that should be discarded, as sharks are scavengers and tend to feed on trash or waste. Since most predators cannot detect odor through a plastic bag, this is an effective method of disposal. ELT, Emergency Locator Transmitters. As a reminder, technology can save lives. Currently, there are two types of emergency transmitters for pilots to use. One is known as the 121.5 ELT, and the other is the 406 ELT. Both vary greatly in comparison. The 121.5 should be considered a minimum use transmitter. It compiles data from a satellite pass and is used for high flyers over the ocean. Unfortunately, it can also track to other transmitters, like garage door openers. Needless to say, it can present a lot of false alarms. However, it can narrow the search pattern, getting within 25 to 30 square miles. The average cost is $300 to $800. The 406 is much more accurate and much more expensive. It is the optimum emergency locator transmitter. The 406 has a special system set aside for alert beacons. It can provide complete data about a person in distress, the tail number of the aircraft, their company's name and address, frequency, etc. Once a transmitted signal is received, the search area is reduced within 2 miles. The cost is $2,500. Above all, ELTs must be highly reliable, quick, and accurate while available at reasonable cost for optimum use. The battery in an ELT lasts at least 48 hours once activated. Once it is turned on, do not turn it off. Otherwise, it may appear to search and rescue teams that it was turned on accidentally. Extra sets of batteries for ELTs are a good idea. Many experts go to the extent of recommending carrying 2 ELTs on board. Each person on the aircraft should have a life jacket. Every aircraft should have a life raft large enough to accommodate the number of people on board. Accompanying the life raft should be a life raft repair kit and a roll of duct tape. Even if you do everything right, you can expect 24 to 36 hours to be rescued. So let's say you've declared an emergency. You're ditching. A life vest should be donned, but not inflated. If you inflate prior to evacuation, you run the risk of puncturing the vest. Also, inflating early could prohibit you from exiting the aircraft. It is important that a life vest fits well. It should keep your head high out of the water, since our greatest loss of body heat is through our head and neck. All water becomes cold eventually, so it doesn't matter if the water temperature is 85 degrees or 35 degrees. Hypothermia will eventually occur. A life vest should be issued to you and fit you like you would fit to a parachute. It is your means of survival. It's important that you know how to orally inflate the vest in case the CO2 cartridge doesn't work. Again, an emergency situation is not the time to learn. Some vests may have a sea rescue unit attached. Even crime scene take can be seen from altitudes of 600 to 800 feet. Do what you can to increase your chances of being visible by air. Are you aware of how small a person or raft is from the air? From 100 feet above the ocean, a large raft can appear smaller than the head of a pin. making rescue efforts more than challenging. If you are without raft and must rely on your vest for flotation, it's important to conserve energy and heat. The best way to do this is get into this position. Arms crossed. When it's cold, close down the airspace around you. Cross your legs, keeping your arms tight to your sides. You can cross your hands over your stomach, but no need to pull your knees to your chest as you'll lose ballast. If you have a raft, inflate it. This normally takes 10 to 17 seconds. This depends on ambient temperature. The raft will take longer to inflate if the temperature is cold. There are numerous models and styles available, also varying greatly in price. There are different sizes of rafts, seating anywhere from 1 to 46 people. There are capsules designed specifically for infants. You should look for a raft that you can store compactly, is lightweight, easily accessed for launching, durable and stable, sits high in the water, and provides for optimum reflective detection. Each person in the raft gets about 4 square feet, so it's important to have weight equally distributed. Try to prevent a raft from kiting or getting air under it. Make sure the drogue or sea anchor is deployed. If a raft is without a drogue, it will spin around. So make a tail drogue opposite the raft opening, as directional stability is needed. Most damage that happens to a raft occurs at deployment or right before the rescue. Remember, this equipment is designed to save your life. The price you pay for your survival equipment is your decision. However, most people say that if you can afford a plane, you can afford the training and equipment that go along with it. Once your aircraft is down, secure and throw out the raft and inflate it. Be sure that the raft is moored to the plane so it doesn't drift away. Do not pull the life raft up to the edge of the wing, as this may puncture the raft. Move down the mooring line, which is usually 30 to 70 feet, and get in the raft. This means you must get into the water in order to get into the raft, lessening the risk of putting a hole in your raft. Set the drogue chute or sea anchor, which will give your raft stability. If you have a canopy, install it. If not, do what you can to provide shelter from the elements using blankets, clothing, or whatever. Try to stay in the vicinity of the wreckage, since your last transmission will probably be from that area. The mooring line is designed to break at 500 pounds of pressure, so before the aircraft sinks, try to cut the mooring line yourself so you can keep better control of the line and raft. Bail any water out of the raft. Stay low in the raft and try to keep the weight in the raft equally distributed. Keeping a low center of gravity will help the raft float better. Never sit on the edge of a raft, as this allows water to come in. Many kits contain a dye marker. This can be effective if a plane is nearby. However, the dye dissipates in the water after a short period of time. As with flares or dye markers, be selective in the timing of their release. When it comes to crew and passenger survival, the situation varies a little. Supplies must be fairly divided. Injuries attended to, while watching for others getting seasick or in great pain. Everyone in the raft should have an assignment. According to international law, the pilot remains the captain in charge unless injured or prefers to appoint someone else to the leadership role. In some situations, the pilot may not be the best leader or the most resourceful person on board. Look to those that have great imagination, as creativity is paramount regarding survival. Necessity truly is the mother of invention. Everyone should have a task, such as keeping watch, using the signal mirror, making water, having a flare ready to go, bailing water, keeping the inside of the raft dry. Whatever is necessary to be productive. Survival is much more difficult when you're alone than if you're with a group. With a group, you can exchange ideas, problem solve, and get your mind off the situation. One survival trainee offered this insight.
I think they realise that perhaps not what they thought it was going to be. I think people don't think about what's going to happen to them when they did. They hope it's not going to happen. And I don't think they have any idea of how difficult the tiny little things become, how the basics of living and surviving, what it involves at all. It takes you so much closer to nature. And I think in our life now we get further and further away from nature, and suddenly you're thrown back into having to cope.
For one thing, more rest is available when you are with other people. When you are by yourself, you are your only resource.
If you're ever adrift for any period of time, anything that floats in the ocean develops an ecology. I say that everything in the ocean becomes an island. It doesn't matter whether it's a light bulb or something as large as a life raft. Things start growing on it that attracts fish and so on. And this environment's what survivors learn to live off of.
As you might have imagined, your survival isn't over once you enter a life raft. It's just a continuation of your voyage. Do what you must to keep occupied. Keep a log, navigate, keep an inventory of your items, prioritize, develop a routine, check your raft's condition. Survivors focus on a task, always looking for the next step. What's attainable? A task can be a lifesaver. Get to know your companions and put everyone's talents to use. Develop a different mindset to adapt. Having the will to live is exceedingly important. Plan to be out there indefinitely. Develop daily schedules of responsibilities and activities. Be flexible with your environment. Being able to accept the environment as it is and go on is part of surviving. Chances are you'll experience extremes. Extremes in temperature, extreme hunger, and extreme thirst. Without realizing it, all of us on a daily basis practice survival skills. Just by crossing in traffic, dealing with family or office issues. Training helps us to understand better, thus reducing our panic and anxiety. Through experience and education, we develop better coping mechanisms. Always try to stay in good physical condition. Those people that do have a greater tendency to survive. Surviving means operating out of your comfort zone. Some people give up easily, while others will do whatever necessary to make it. Think of how people respond to an aircraft accident. Are they willing to fly again? Think about those things that you personally are willing to accept. And what are those things that you can't or aren't willing to handle? Is it worth your life? So what are ways to better prepare yourself for a survival situation? There are related courses you can take, books you can read, seminars you can attend. Even the internet is a good resource. Keep curious, as life experience also becomes a resource. Know the kinds of equipment available. Contact manufacturers to learn about a product. To make survival training effective, it needs to be realistic and provide you with a hands-on approach. Pilots and flight crews alike gain much from annual survival training.
My experience in my eyes are wide open now. I'd never realized how tough it was to get into the raft to begin with, and just all the things that can go wrong.
There are several rescue systems in place to help you once you notify them of your distress. The U.S. Coast Guard is the primary response agency. Their search and rescue teams use satellite systems, allowing them to respond to distress alerts from the ELTs. While AMVERS, an automated mutual assistance vessel rescue system, is a volunteer group who has an international reputation for assisting anyone at sea who's in need. The ocean hosts its share of Good Samaritans, doing what they can, whenever they can. So now, as a pilot, what are your best resources for survival equipment? The market is filled with choices. Contact your local FAA authorized repair station for recommendations. There are hundreds of independent companies that sell aviation survival equipment. Listen to word of mouth, talk to users, attend courses that utilize different products, and offer hands-on training. Send off for brochures and price lists from the manufacturers. After reviewing the basics of water survival, let's see if you're up to survival status. Currently, what kind of life raft do you have in your aircraft? What size is it? Do you know what's in it? How about an ELT? Do you have one? What kind? Is your survival kit equipped with a water maker? Do you have the attitude that it will never happen to you? If you answered no or don't know to any of these questions, may we recommend to you further education regarding basic water survival training. It's never too late to learn. The life you save may be your own.